Mm. So, let me just do a little bit of swapping around whilst we wait for people to come in. So, okay, let's just move that. Cool. So, good afternoon, everyone. I can see people are joining us. It is just a little bit ahead of 6 o'clock, so I'm going to wait patiently for the time to at least reach 6 o'clock so that people know where I'm up to and what I'm doing. My craft room is a conservatory, so I've got my lights sorted out so that the live will be more visible than maybe the background is at the moment. And as you can see, I've got lots and lots of bits of stuff around. Hi Rosa, welcome. Hi Sheila, hi Laura, thank you for joining us today. Pentacolor have asked that we show our faces, so I have done. Let me just see if we can actually do a little bit of swapping around. I want that Aha, there we are. We're sorted. Technology is not my forte, it has to be said. Hi Mary, thank you for joining us. Today I'm going to just wait for a few more people to appear, and then we'll get moving. It's on StreamYard, so I think I should get lots of the notifications, but I'm clearly not getting all of them. So hi Danae, hi Pip, thank you very much for joining us. I hope your lovely sister is with you out in Canada at the moment. Good afternoon or good evening, Elizabeth. I hope I've said that properly. It's not my best interpretation of your name, I'm sure. I don't know. Thank you for joining us this evening. Cool. So we have swapped to 6 o'clock, and I have got some new goodies to share with people. This live was postponed from last week as I went away and came back with COVID. I really wasn't fit to do anything. So some of you may have seen some of this lot before, others won't. For those of you that are in the UK, I will be bringing these to Create and Craft on the 30th of November, and that will be the first place you'll be able to get them in the UK. Hello Katerina, thank you for joining us. Hi Anthony, thank you so much for joining us. So my pots are already very well loved, so I apologise for their slightly mucky state, but I've been doing lots of samples and playing and learning how to work with these. So let's start with this one. This is the candle glue, and I think this is probably a game changer because it contains a fire retardant. So that means that you can add rice papers and napkins which are thin with a coat of the candle glue below and one on top, and safely burn your candle. And you can also add your chrome powders over the areas that have been coated, and that will stick. But it's helpful if you then add some wax paste over the top to seal it all in. So that's the candle glue, and this is just a piece of rice paper, and then with some of the chrome powder on top of it. It's been double coated so I can actually burn it. I've mixed the candle glue with some chunky glitter and then applied it to my candle. Now my glitter is a glass glitter, so it's not going to melt or be a danger to me if this is burning. So I would suggest that if you're adding extra elements to your candles, then you make sure that they either purely for decorative use or you're using elements that are not flammable, and then you're safe to go. This is a little bit of play because you can add acrylic paints over the top of the candle once the candle glue is dried, and they will stick. And then I've used another medium and added metal flakes to this, and then more chunky glitters to give my snowy scene. And I think it's quite effective. Hi Liz, I hope you're well. And then of course you can do whatever. So this is a white candle. It's been painted with the cream paint, and then it has got a piece of rice paper added. I've had lots of fun playing. Hi Elaine, hi Margaret. And then a real sort of play, and this hasn't been tested by Pentacolor in a fire cabinet, so do so at your own risk if you're going to burn it. But this is the one that was made with a layer of the candle glue, then blue paint, then the one component crackle, and the ivory paint on top of it. I've used the new matte decoupage glue to add my rice paper, and then some contour pen for detailing. And I have coated the whole thing with more candle glue to make sure everything is well and truly stuck in. But everything is pretty well robustly stuck on here. I'm sure if I deliberately scratched it with my nail, it would come off, but it's not. The paint's not moving, so I think it works pretty well. So that's the candle glue, and as I say, I think it's a game changer, and it will be available in the UK on Create & Craft on the 30th, and shortly after that it will be in the shops elsewhere. The next glue is a tacky glue, and you can say, why on earth do we need tacky glues when we've got the metal leaf glue? And the answer is that this is a glue that even when it's spread really, really thinly, so that you can't see any brush marks in it, it still holds mediums on it. So I've added it to a faux flower here and added my gilding flakes, so it works brilliantly. I think that looked fabulous with a brooch back as a brooch. And on here, and there will be a blog post for this piece, I've used it for chunky glitter, the fine eco glitter, the coarse eco glitter. I haven't tried it with the confetti eco glitter, but you can see it's holding the chunky glitters and all of those in place really quite well. And as I say, there will be a blog post next week for that on the That's Crafty Creatives page, called That's Blogging Crafty, as they're UK suppliers of the pent up mediums. So there we are. Let me just pop those onto the floor and grab another box. Another thing that I've been making. So the final product in our selection of new products is this decoupage glue ultra matte. And some of the matte glues are often end up with a slightly chalky appearance to the finished pieces, but this absolutely does not. It is matte and crystal clear, so it makes a great addition to the stash, and I've used that on here, and as you can see, there is no shine whatsoever on this. And I've also, so again, it depends on the look that you're looking for, and I've used tacky glue around the edge and some of the velvet powders to add to that from there. So let me pop that safely out of harm's way, and then let's move to actually doing some crafting this evening. Sorry, I am still coughing post-COVID. I'm not infectious. I am testing negative, but it's a pain in the proverbial. But there we are. That is just part of life. Let me just grab a brush that I'm not going to be too fast at. So I've got a plastic bauble here, but any bauble will do, or you can do the same essentially on a an MDF blank, so, or any surface that you want. Because this is a plastic base, I have pre-primed it with some bonding fluid. What do you clean your glasses with? You stick them into water straight away, Lorraine, and I haven't had any problem with getting any of the glues, even the tacky glue, out of them. But do literally use it and stick it in the water. Don't let it on the side to dry, otherwise you really will regret it, because it's nigh on impossible to shift once it has dried. How do I know? Because I've done it on a stencil. So I wouldn't recommend that you stencil through them with the tacky glue, because it's not great for doing that. And this is one of a rice paper from the current Stamperia collection. So we are just going to, I'm going to pop this a layer, like like any decoupage glue medium, really, you need to put a layer of your decoupage glue down. Make sure you're covering the area that you're sticking your piece on, and try, the cough isn't painful, try and get it reasonably central. Don't fret too much. I do want my bird vaguely upright though. There we are. My cough isn't painful, thankfully, but it is irritating. I make sure I've got enough underneath there. I know I haven't gone far enough out, so we'll pop that there. And then I'm just popping this out, pushing this out from the side, as you would any rice paper or any paper that you're decoupaging with. It makes sense to go from the centre out, because that way you can push out any air bubbles while the going is good. So I sort of, well, I do know where I'm going with this, because I've done a sample as a design team project, so I'm not allowed to show that one, I'm afraid, because that's the rules of the design team. But we'll have another one by the end of tonight, and you'll see where I'm going. There we are. So let's just take that off. It goes on white. It will dry crystal clear and completely matte. Obviously, if you're wanting to use something like the fine line crackle medium over the top, it's not worth doing, because you're going to add a shiny surface. But use the products that you have for the purpose they're intended. So there we are. So now this might prove slightly embarrassing with Anthony in the house, but hey ho, I'm always up for a little bit of a challenge, and I have pre-made my pieces. So let me just grab my clay, which is wrapped up. So use whichever clay you have and that you can get hold of, and I have one pre-prepped and dried, because I don't like painting clay when it is wet. Which one? There we are. So I'm using Artista Soft clay, which is the same as Hearty clay. Google Artista Soft if you're in the UK, because you'll find it cheaper there than anywhere else. And I'm just going to, I've got some moulds. Excuse me, sorry about the coughing. There's not much I can do about it, and I'm literally just going to feed this in. Now, I had, got some that already dried, which is helpful. And this is quite an intricate mould, as you will see, but it will work. Hopefully, it'll just come out, but it's not a problem if it isn't. if you're struggling to get stuff out of your detailed molds or the pet makes a stretching, stick it in the freezer. Who's forgotten to open their mouth, Gail? There we are. And we'll just pop this in. I wanted just a little bit of extra detail and decoration. And then, like an idiot, I pre-did them, and I've got one that's already glued onto a mold. And I decided I'd try and speed up the setting of the glue on the mold. And it's slightly warped because the mold, as I say, that my bauble is, as I say, plastic. So, hey ho. But there. These pictures are Stamperia, Elaine. They are part of the latest release. They're getting quite difficult to find, I think. They have been quite difficult to get hold of. They've seem to have sold out on lots of sites, but if you have hunt around, I'm sure you will find them. I know, again, they are part of one of my show bundles. So, you know, if all else fails, then they will be available when I do my next Pentart show. There we are. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I do apologise for the coughing. There's not much I can do about it. So, yeah, I'm just adding bits to fill my mould up. There we are. And then I'm making sure that the edges are clear, because if you do that, it makes life easy. Now, I know that the weak spots for here are that little bit here and some of the wings, but my clay is reasonably dried out, I think. So pop that down. I'm going to see if I can start to flick it out. Once I've started to flick it out, I can then almost roll the mould off the clay piece. But as I say, I would just stick it in the freezer, and it becomes for half an hour, and it makes life easier. Anthony, this mould, it came from Dekoratőr out in Greece, so I'm sure if you Google mould, you'll find it supplied by someone. Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, it might well be. Anyway, and then I've used these, which again came from Dekoratőr, but I'm sure the eagle-eyed around Anthony will recognise this as almost certainly originating as a Prima mould at some point in the past. As I say, I'm using the Artista soft clay, and one of the reasons I like this is that it flexes when you heat it up. So my next product is the Pentart Express Glue. No, I thought I'd preempt you, Anthony, because I know what you're like. Your eagle eyes see what's going on, and you're not wrong in doing that. But then as half the molds then get discontinued by the companies, what do they expect people to do? And I flatly refuse to pay some of the prices of the hunting for older ones. There we are. So this is just the express glue, and I'm just going to give my clay a little bit of a heat, and it will go saggy, because that's what it does with a bit of heating, and it means it's less likely to break as I put it onto my onto my mold. So there we are. You can see just how soft actually they become with a little bit of heat. So it's a great activity for that. And that needs to go on the centre, and then that can go down there, and I can pop it down. Now the express glue likes to be squashed down and held still, which is a boring thing to do, but it's essential. And while it wobbles around, it's not good. So I'm going to pop that into there. I want that into there a little bit. That can go there. And a little bit of tape might well help. So again, I've got another piece here. rather than adding lots of making you watch while I hold everything dry. I've got some tape pre-cut. Watch how this mould is beginning, that. I'll hold that at this end. You can see just how flexible this becomes with a bit of heat, which really does make life much easier, but heat it away from your plastic bauble. So Elaine, in the UK, I suggest you look for a place called My Craft Art, and they will have them in stock. But any plastic bauble will work just as well. So I'm just going to pop that into there, and then I'm going to follow my circle. Round we go, 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 round. There we are, and I can hold that, and that will go into the edge of there. There we are. You see, you just have to be patient, and patience is not my virtue. But I don't want to take a glue gun to the bauble, because you'll see in a minute what happens if you do. But I would say this could just as easily be done on a piece of MDF. So let me just make my life easier. I like them, and they come in several different sizes as well, Elaine. But there is the lady who owns that is a Polish lady, surprisingly, but she's based in the UK, and she's perfectly safe and sensible to order from. She has some fabulous things. Don't blame me when your bank manager is unhappy. So I'm just going to take this in place temporarily whilst the glue has a chance to catch, because the more you mess with it, actually the harder it becomes to do. And you see, that's what happens. And that's going to go into there. And you just have to be patient, really, when you're doing these things. And as I say, patience is not my strongest forte. So there we are. We'll just chop that little bit of that out. Lorraine, My Craft art. I bought mine in from Greece, which is where I think I picked up my COVID, which was very antisocial of it. I might have to take a glue gun to this in a minute, but there you are. There we are. You could use gel medium if you wanted to do this. I won't. I already blue it. And Nancy, yeah. Well, we're all good craft enablers, I'm afraid, is the honest answer to that. So there we are. I think that might now be just a little bit too long. So you just need to trim them around until you're happy with the size that you want. Cousin, I'm really sorry. I don't understand a word of Hungarian. So if someone who is Hungarian and speaks English can let me know what is being said, or particularly if it's a question, I will do my best to answer. See, that is still too long. So there we are. It's just easier to take off than it is to try adding. And as I say, you just need to take your time, let it all catch, let the glue catch. Patience, you've been called worse. Yeah, well, I hope polite, Anthony. There's never an excuse to be rude to someone. Craft enabling is part of the territory of going on design teams, isn't it? And working in the craft industry. There we are. So that will work there, and I've got a thicker one. Really? Is that really? Hello, Leah. Thank you very much for joining me, sweetheart. Leah is my grandchild, hence the comment, Nana? Yeah, I've got a few people who describe me as a good enabler. So let me just heat this up because it's all a bit wonky already. And I've deliberately put the glue on it on the back because it helps to start it gets setting. And as I say, I'm trying to show you the processes rather than so that you actually understand how you can do it. You can do this just as easily with an acrylic bauble, and I've put a big thick ball paintbrush in here to help me hold it in place. There we are. And at this point you really do need some bits of tape. And will I be able to find the end of my tape? Probably not, but hey ho. And then it just needs to be sat down and left. So we'll just pop that onto there. That can go there, that can go there, that can hold that in place. Excuse the teeth. Sorry for that. But we will then be able to pop that around the middle, pop that onto there, hold it in place, tip this piece into position. Now, if I was not on a live, what I would do is literally just be patient. Let my glue dry. Not try doing two things at once. Not try moving on. Because actually that's just what needs to happen. Like, I'm taking it off with my flipping fingers now. So there we are. Get a piece that's long enough, and that might work and stretch across the whole thing. Here we are. So literally just pop it in, pop it over, hold it in place, pop it where you want it. There we are. And let the glue grab. I know that there's a little gap here from the pieces. I don't know about another pair of hands, Louise. You just need to have a little degree of patience. And patience and lives are not necessarily two things that go hand in hand. But this is real life. And actually, you know, we can all get on with doing things, can't we? We all know that we have, you know, life has to go on, and, you know, we have to be able to. So actually getting to understand the tricks and what will make your life manageable is actually quite a useful activity. But as I say, patience. Project where you need to be an octopus. Yeah, absolutely. And 2 heads would be good as well. And 8 foot long arms. But you just need to be patient, really. It's not... The express glue grabs reasonably quickly, which is why I've picked it up to use. But sometimes, as I say, you just need to be patient. But I did this earlier on to make life a bit easier. It's better. And because I've put the decoupage glue on the front of my project, and that's gone dry, actually it's not such a problem now to put the tape on it. It will lift off. So let's just grab one of these. And as I say, this is real life, isn't it? It's what happens in the middle of your crafting. You know, you just need to sometimes have an extra pair of hands. So then just pop it down, let it settle down, let it glue, make sure it's where you want it, because once it's set, you'll struggle to move it. And just pop it out the way and repeat for the back as you require. Obviously, there we are. I want that to sit in there neatly. There. So there is one Blue Peter style that I did earlier. And you can see, and I shall be honest, it's a bit wonky there because I was Mrs. Impatient and heated it when I shouldn't have done. So I now have a very nice matte decoupage. My base is in place, and I know that I want to add some velvet powders to here. And the velvet powders you tend to be able to see the layer below them. So I am going to paint my bauble with this beautiful bourbon colour because I'm intending using this, which is a beautiful garnet coloured velvet powder. And for a change, I am not going to pre-mix it, but that's so we now move to me. And the joy of having my paintbrush in it means I can do both sides. I didn't get that very central, but hey ho, such is life. So let's go for a reasonable sized paintbrush to start with, because we're going to be covering a good area, and I might well find that I actually need 2 layers of here. So coming back to the clear gesso, you can absolutely use clear gesso. It depends completely on what you're wanting to do with them. My personal preference, Judith, for acrylic is not clear gesso. It would be bonding fluid, because it's designed to do what it says on the tin, really bond stuff to the surfaces, whereas clear gesso will prep it and you will be able to add layers on top, but it's not really designed for maybe longevity, whereas the bonding fluid is designed for long term. So, but if that's what you've got, then that's what you should use. But I would say that if you're going to be working with glass, acrylic, pottery, then actually long term it would make sense to get some of the bonding fluid, because you'll get great results with that. Yeah, and you pick something like this, and then we've got, we have no choice but to do the painting. So otherwise I'd have had 25 different samples in different steps, and really life is too short to prep that number when you're still not quite right, and when you have the joys of going and collecting a brand new car today. I know, I'm a lucky lady. The old car was more than 10 years old and was beginning to cost a small fortune, so not as extravagant as you might think. Yeah. So let's see where we get up to at this point. What was the again for? Blanche, sorry, I missed that. Was there another question? And this is just a question of being patient, which is why I didn't add any mouldings to the other side, because I didn't feel that going around 2 sets of mouldings was going to be exhilarating entertainment this evening. It is just a question of being patient. You'll get into all of the nooks and crannies. The Polish ladies are incredible when they do this type of work. I wouldn't say that I am the same as them. I do a limited amount of moulds when I'm making my pieces, but it's a style that I think works for me. And when you're crafting, that's the most important thing, I think, is to find something that sings to your heart. And you're running late for your live. Yes, I saw the advert for your live the other day. I think earlier on today, in fact. So I wonder if you have you got anywhere, because I know from our conversation I've sort of half-inched what you were going to do, or something very similar sort of products. So, but yeah. it's that time of the year, isn't it? And if we're making Christmas mates, that's just what we're going to be doing. There we are. So if your painting isn't so accurate, you can wipe off, because the paper is protected by the decoupage glue, or you don't need to stress about it, or just don't go down so far, and then use some Umbra anti can distress the edges, but you know, entirely your option. And that the Umbra it will cover a multitude of sins and make for easy finishing, and add a bit of dry brushing over the top, and no one will be any the wiser if you've missed bits either. But these are all tricks, aren't they, that you learn to have. Oh, you'll be lucky if it's 12 weeks. I had to order mine in March. Yeah, March ours was ordered, with a September expected delivery date, and it has only just been delivered. We were warned, to be fair to the dealers, that might happen. The car I really wanted, I was told I couldn't get to 2023, which, as the other one was falling apart, that wasn't going to happen, was it? I was not going to be waiting for that long from March, but hey ho, there we are. And heavens, they decide to open. So, as I said earlier, I work in a conservatory. The British winter weather has decided to appear. The temperature has definitely dropped in the UK, and the heavens, as I say, have just decided to open, so that'll be unhelpful. Sorry for, oops, she says, having put a dollop, nice big dollop of the paint where we definitely don't want it. There we are. But as I say, because I have it coated with the decoupage glue to protect it, you can see I can lift it off, no pressure. And that's the importance of sealing your pieces and adding your layers as you go, because if you didn't do that, there is no way that I could have lifted that off, because paint stokes immediately into rice papers. I don't want as much on there, so let me just, no, you haven't got a nice big brown splodge on the camera that I thought I'd just touched. And then it's, as I say, it's just a question of a little bit of patience. Make sure that you cover stuff up. I'm not going to use any Umbra, but because that wasn't what I wanted, the look that I wanted. But if you were going to do it, what I would say is that I would do it before adding my tacky glue and before adding my velvet powders, because much as they're reasonably robust, I don't think an oil-based product on velvet seems like a good idea. And hopefully you'll agree with me. There we are. Yes, I've seen some of your beautiful baubles, Agnieszka. They are gorgeous. And I would have to say that if anyone hasn't watched Agnieszka's, or seen Agnieszka Razuskis, and I've probably said her name wrong, but hey ho, videos or baubles, then check her out, because she really does make beautiful pieces. Because I'm a fuss pot, I'm going to just take, she says, and then spreading it where I don't want it. There we are. Okay. That will do for now. And then I can repaint over the top and hopefully not make too big a mess. But as I say, one of the easiest ways ultimately is to just add some umbra patina to it, into the crevices, and it will stain the white and no one will be any the wiser. And it will, as I say, wipe off your decoupage image. So there we are. So if I was, doing these not on a live, what I would do is I would line probably 3 or 4 of them up. The rice paper in question had 6 images, so I could line 6 up or 3 depending on what I wanted to do, and then just do each step at a time, work down the line of them, and then of course by the time I have got to the end of a production line, the first ones will be dry for the next step. Well, that also goes the logic. There we are. I might get away without needing 2 layers of paint. I often, for the purposes of the live tonight, but as I say, when I'm doing it for myself, I tend to put 2 layers of paint on. It just gives that extra layer, a little bit more professional, I think. But yeah, ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It's your mate. The little heart also comes from that same decoupage rice paper. There's a couple of them on it, so no doubt I shall make a mess of going around it, but hey ho. So in the UK it's the 4th, well, around the world it's the 4th of November. So to add to the sound of the rain, if you can hear little explosions going off, I'm afraid to say that in spite of the rain, it appears that someone is letting off fireworks in the not too distant so that might not be helping. You could use a sponge to dab this on. I'm covering it with my velvet powders, so actually it's not such a problem if it's not quite such a smooth surface, but make it as smooth as you can. There we are. You could use a stencil to, and add Merry Christmas to this if you wanted to. There we are. That will do. Might not be the tidiest piece of painting, but hey ho. And then we're going to have to get this dry, and that might require a little bit of heat gun activity, I'm afraid. We'll endeavour not to have it melting. There we are. Right. Reasonable. As I say, I would do that with 2 coats if I wasn't on the live. Zach and Zara, you're at your pets, sweetheart. In which case, I'm very glad that they are fast asleep, because I know for the loud noises really aren't good for so many of our 4-legged friends. Hi, Sarah Lou. So Bramley is towards Leeds, I think, isn't it? I used to live there when I was working at Jimmy's. Unless it's in a different country. But as I say, I need to be moderately careful with doing this. You can see how useful having your chihuahuas, yeah. So how useful it is to be able to hold your bauble. So I do recommend that if you're doing any form of deck bauble, that you invest in something that you can use. And it is patchy, and as I say, I really would go over it a second time to get an even coat. But time is cracking on, and you don't need to be here until stupid o'clock. And I can see areas that I've missed, and that will irritate me. So let me just, that's always the way, isn't it, when you're painting, is that the bright colour, yeah, that'll do. The shine off the wet paint means that it's difficult to see what's going on. That's lovely. It's nice to be able to do something together, isn't it? It really is. So I'm just waiting for this paint to settle down a bit and dry. Otherwise we'll have a mucky mess. Mucky messes isn't what we're wanting. We clearly left it on there for a bit longer than we should have done. Right, excellent. So at this point, we can do one of two things. We can highlight our surface detail, and we can either go for copper wax or decor metal matte, which is a type of acrylic. So which would people prefer? Can someone make a comment, and then we'll see which we prefer. The wax is really easy. The decor metal mattes are maybe less easy, but there we are. Sometimes it's good to see something new, isn't it, rather than always going to the same thing. She says we might have the there we are, we've managed to get him. You can see how sparkly it is. These are crammed full of mica. So let me just pop that into there. Get rid of some of that gubbins out of the way. We'll pop that out of the way. And I'm just going to add a little bit of highlighting over the top. As I say, they cover a multitude of sins. So there we are. Bring out some of the detail. There we are. That's my little piece at the end, which is a beautiful flower. There we are. There we are. So they are, as I say, they're crammed full of mica, so they are very pretty. Right. That can go onto there. Let's clear up the mess a little bit. Let's tuck them out of the way. We might add a little bit more there. Yeah. You can always add more if as you want to. Not touching it when it's wet is probably prudent, isn't it? But hey ho. There we are. That can go in there. Now then, next step, tacky glue. So this is the new tacky glue. Did I get everything out? No. And I'm not going to use a new brush for this. I am going to use one that is well loved. Even though it does come out, I'm not prepared to, You were in the medical records library. I am definitely, I'm now testing negative for COVID, Sarah Lou. That's for sure. Now then, you almost don't want to see where this glue is. You can see that I've got one brush full of that glue. I've no idea what the price is going to be. I can't tell you that because I'm not party to such information. But there we are. Now we just need to wait for that to go clear. And you can heat set it. And I need to do the other side. But if I do the other side and then try and put it down to put the velvet powders on, what will happen is it will stick. So this is another case of patience is a virtue, not possessed of the Humphrey. It's going to be fun demonstrating it on TV, isn't it? When I have to do the drying. Though I might actually have some bits there where I've pre-done some of the layers, so that we don't have quite so much messing around. And I don't particularly want velvet powders at that point. I'm going to flick that out of the way and thereby wreck a new brush. Right, excellent. So the velvet powders, these are like essentially a form of flock, and take a clean piece of paper, not one that is covered in inordinate amount of sparkle from previous projects, because it will stick on here. And then we are literally going to douse a large quantity on here. Let me just take that. And brush off the excess. So we've gone from that mucky, uneven, uninteresting, to beautifully opulent, I think. Now then, we now need to repeat said process clearly for the other side. Yeah, that's my old paintbrush. Give it a little bit of a dry, she says, if you can find a towel to put it into. There we are. It's just a brilliant project. Are the velvet powders? I love them. I've got way too much glue on this on here. Let me just give it a good spread about, and then we might take some off and shove it on the side. It's coming off pink, so I won't stick it back in the pot. But yeah, it's good stuff. And it just works, and it covers. They've got some beautiful greens. You can color mix them just as you would. You know, the powder is so fine that actually you don't need to worry about mixing. If you take the red and the yellow, you can get any shade of yellow you want. If you want a reddy brown, you take the red. And there's a beautiful UK pillar box cut red around as well. Now then, do not put your heat gun anywhere within a mile of the velvet powder, because guess what? It'll go every which way. And that's probably not the look I want. Well, I know it's not the look I want. So let me pop that on the floor behind me. And so, as I say, this probably isn't my neatest bauble, but actually it's loved and it won't matter. You just take your time at home and do it at your own speed. Let everything dry naturally rather than taking a heat gun to it, and then you don't have the problems. Yeah. So you can see it really doesn't take very long at all, does it, to dry. Oh, she says. And this might look extravagant, but I can put it all back in the pot, which is why I've got a piece of paper underneath it. There we are. So I'm just giving it a little massage in, because that's important to make it stick to the surface. Take it round, flick off the extra. There we are. Take it off the bits that you don't want. You can always go back over and re-establish the. There we are. Get rid of it off the. You see, flipping bits of glitter everywhere. Let me grab a pin, because that will irritate me. And I thought I'd been so careful. There we are. There we are. So let's take the bit of glitter that we've got in there out. So that I can pop back in to here. And at this stage, you can do one of two things. It's entirely up to you. I will give my mitts a wipe to get rid of the stickiness and make sure I don't transfer bits every which way. I don't like making a mess. And then this is the top, can go onto there. And then you can pop a nice piece of ribbon in place. So although I know that that is wonky, actually I don't think anyone else really would know. And just take off the excess. There we are. You can see actually I'm brushing off quite a lot still, but it still has a nice velvet appeal. There we are. So there is our finished bauble. So that is what I intended making tonight. I hope you've liked the introduction to the new products. Oh, flipping heck, that's intelligent knot, isn't it? Right. Oh, well, there's going to be a few things that have got bits in that. Make sure you lid your products before you get anything else out. And then I can have the fun and the games of getting this in. So if anyone has any questions, that might actually go into a takeaway pot. I think it might be easier. So I will find a takeaway pot to pop that into, of which we have a good number in the house, as you might imagine, with adult children living with us. Let me just give that a wipe down. There we are. And if I pop that onto there, you will then be able to see the finished bauble. Cool. So take your time. Don't try force drying stuff. Just literally go at your own speed, be sensible, and enjoy yourself, because that's the most important thing. If you make something that that's been inspired by me, please tag me into any of the posts that you might put onto social media, and what I wish to do now is say good night, everyone. Stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. If you're going to bonfire night, enjoy that, and I hope you don't get too wet or too cold. So that's all for now, and I will probably see you on a live in a couple of weeks' time. Take care. Bye.